And welcome, viewers, to another Warcraft 3 audio commentary. Today, it's October. I just would like to remind you that it's the scariest month of the year. The absolute scariest month of the year. And what does that mean? That means we all deserve to be very scared. That's what it means. Let's introduce our players. This is game number 2 for the best of 3 series being played for Dog Cup broadcast. Let's introduce our blue elf on the left side of the map. His name, playing under the name Ricard. You probably better know him as EleGaNt. Yeah, I wish I could do like drum voice noises. I'd be like, shapang, but I can't. In the lower right part of the map, we do have the TH000. He's gonna be spawning in as the well-known one and only Thu. The map obviously is Terranistan. I almost feel like I don't even need to say that. I don't know if this is the case, but I feel like this might be the most popular map that gets played on BNet in custom games. I see it all the time and I hate it. I think it's the worst map. I hate this map. Oh, do I hate it? It makes my blood boil. It does. I don't like it. I don't like this map one bit at all. But fair enough. It is a map. It's not a bad map. It could be a better map. But it's an okay map. So let's go ahead and look at our players. We are gonna be seeing a Demon Hunter versus a Archmage. Big surprise there, I suppose. On a map like this. Now, I kind of touched on this in the last game, which was played on Echo Isles. I kind of touched on the fact that if the human player gets behind in the early game, getting ahead is really difficult. Their game plan is usually to go for a what I would call the choke point play, where you build and you defend, you know, towers and a choke point, and you get up an expansion. You try to go for additional, what's it called? Additional expansion. Go for additional economy. Build up your economy and kind of out economy the elf as the game goes on. Because I think the elf tends to have a pretty stable army unless the human gets like a fantastic position. Then really, I think the elf army can win. I think it almost is at an advantage in the open field battles. Depends on player skill, obviously, in micro. I think it's very micro-intensive, the fight. Absolutely incredibly micro-intensive. But without that choke point advantage and being able to buy time, which is I think what you do when you have that choke point, because then even though the human player has to keep repositioning, it's buying them so much time that they can actually put up expansions behind that, and they can really get an economy advantage. On a map, when you're not in that situation where you don't have that option late game, going for the Archmage as the first hero is not quite as sound, because the Archmage is key to that strategy, right? That Archmage gives you Blizzard, it gives you Brilliant Sword, it gives you Sustain, all of those good things. Robe of the Magi, who's going to pick it up? It's going to be the Archmage, and he's picking up. Going to help him do extra damage. Also, it means he's going to be able to pop out another Water Elemental. Didn't really make any difference there, but still, he's going to be able to do it, which is cool. And we have this just elf. He's just trying to fight. Gonna lose an archer to creeps. I guess that's better than losing it to footman, because it was very low and it was probably gonna die anyway. So I guess in some ways that's not the worst play we've ever seen. But yeah, so this is him. He's going for the. It's actually kind of interesting to see the elf player play so aggressively here. He might even get surrounded on that Demon Hunter. Actually surrounded on the Demon Hunter. Can he kill the peasant fast enough to get out? It wouldn't even matter at this point. In fact, he's not even killing that peasant. He's just going to take a bunch of damage and then he's going to TP out. I guess since his strategy there is to just delay and buy time, it's not bad for him to go ahead and just, you know, take as much time as he can and get as low as he can before he TPs out. And comes up here. He's going to be able to AOW creep some stuff out should he desire. See, this he can easily finish off. This, you know, he can do. The big issue is that he lost his archer as well, so it's harder to do AOW creeping, but he's not even going to do that. He's just going to pick up a staff, TP down to this archer. He's like, got a second one, and he wants to do some more harass, but this time he's definitely not going to want to be surrounded, because that's never good for you. Because he doesn't have a TP, he doesn't have any out. If he gets surrounded now, he's going to die. So this has not gone to plan for him, I don't think. I think he was hoping this one a little better for him. Very, very risky what he's doing here, running in this way. But not too big of a deal, because Thu didn't try to anticipate the surround, which is not, you know, it's really not a big deal. And the elf player is going to be forced to back out. And he's got this thing over here, just beaten down, going to kill the wonderful farm over there. And this farm will stay up for scouting information, which is always good. And prosperity, we have the prosperity, sure. And we have this archer over here is chilling out. We have a wisp. He just went to the tavern, indicating that maybe he wants to pick up a panda or something, but he's not quite tier 2, so who knows what he actually wants to do. So we totally got distracted by that bit of action, but to go back to what I was saying, just to finish out the thought, the Archmage makes more sense in the games where you have the option to go for the later the later choke point play. And then the Mountain King actually I think makes a lot more sense for the early and the mid game focused play, where you have to have an advantage early on and you have to have an advantage in the mid game so that you can have an advantage, you can push it in the late game, which I think on a map like Echo Isles is something that they have to basically really have to have, because if you lose in the early game, it can just really go bad for you there. But here we can see once again the Demon Hunter is trying to come in here and make something happen. We're gonna see that peasant fighting, say, "You're gonna hit me, I'll hit you back." He is a pissed off peasant, and we're gonna see. I don't know if that was a full surround, but it was about to be with these militia. He's just gonna staff out. He's not messing around at this point. At this point, he knows Moonwell Juice is more important than anything else. Actually, he staffed right over here to this archer that he's been keeping invisible, just so he knows what's going on. And also, it wasn't a Panda second. It's gonna be a Naga Sea Witch that he's picked up, and again now he has to be careful once again not to get surrounded on anything, because he's no out whatsoever. And he's going to be running away. Just playing a hyper-aggressive style right now. Not something we tend to see elves do. But I will say this, in context of the series, I can kind of see sometimes, you know, you want to play a little unexpected, or you want to play, if you feel like you have the option, oh, he's going to lose that Naga. No! He's still going to lose the Naga, I think. Maybe not. He's going to pick up a Boots of Speed. Oh, yeah, look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful play right here. He's got a Wisp that he could potentially use to block that Archmage, because the Archmage also has Boots of Speed. The Naga stopping for a second. The Archmage also stopping for a second. I don't know if that was an intentional micro trick there by Ricard or EleGaNt or not, but it was kind of interesting and it worked. I guess. Anyways, that's living. So the Ancient of War is kind of walking down here. He is taking some mad focus damage. He is going to die. I'm surprised he's not just doing some damage to the Footman, because there's no way he's going to live. No way at all. He didn't even reach the tree. Could have done I would say a significant amount of damage to a Footman, or to several Footmen, had, you know, he just decided to. This is a Wisp. He's going to go ahead and try to get the save, but he detonates it, and then creeps the aggro, did all blah, blah, blah. Anyway. Archmage is over here. He's going to come right back over here. As we can see, the Demon Hunter and the Naga Sea Witch trying to do some more damage and harass on this expansion. Attempt to fly through, which I would say is less an attempt and more of a success at this point. Taking down 2, 3, and 4 peasants here. He is definitely going to be retreating. He's going to staff the Naga out and then staff the Demon Hunter out as well. Picking off 4 basically free kills right there for peasants is actually pretty good, because again, that's 4 times 75 gold, as well as lost time mining and experience going to his heroes, which he desperately needs. He is tier 2. He's going for the wonderful Nature's Blessing upgrade, which is going to allow his buildings more life and more faster movement speed, so he can actually go across the map with them a little bit easier. He's got a Tree of Life right here that he's going to be ahead and go ahead and finish. He could be using it to creep out this potentially. He's trying to have some kind of economy brought back to level the playing field, because as you can see, so far the early game has not been great for him. He's done a decent amount of damage to that Expo in the last little bit of harass, but still there is a ton of Footmen right here that he has to be careful to not get surrounded by, because if he does get surrounded, that is going to pretty much shut down any potential harass for several minutes, most likely. And also, as we move towards later in this game, we're going to be moving towards more and more of a position where the human has had a good early game, and they have an expansion up, and the elf doesn't, unless something can happen to the elf, because right now he is in a bad way, definitely. If he takes a bad fight right here, the game is over undeniably. I mean, look at this. If he loses that Naga and then he loses that Dryad, all he's got left to do is defend with a Demon Hunter, and all of these Moonwells have no moon juice whatsoever. The Naga out of range of the shot, but a little bit clever micro with the staff actually puts him right back in range. He's going to pick the shop right up. Instead of trying to buy something, he's going to start fighting with it. We're going to see this defended Footman walking right by it. They're going to go ahead and be in defense, because they want to try to reflect some of these damage attacks from the Dryads, because obviously you can't get away if you're in that kind of situation where you're being slowed and you're being poisoned. But if you can kind of reflect some of those shots, and you can reflect poison and do a fair amount of damage to the Dryads as you run away, which is kind of nice. Starting to see some of these Footmen being picked off right now. 2 going down. We have a 3rd almost certainly going to go down. The Archmage apparently died as well. I didn't even see it. But it did just get taverned back. So there you go. And now we're going to see 2 more Footmen going down at least. 2 more. Level 3 being picked up by the Demon Hunter. This is the kind of fight that EleGaNt needs to be taking, and this is the kind of play that he needs to beat through. He's playing fantastically right now, keeping everything so low as possible, just riding the edge and just still coming out ahead. Now he's going to come up here towards his expansion. What he did, he just picked up a tree right there, so he's got some regeneration. We can't see it because he's full life, but he does have it for several more seconds, I guess you could say. He's going to go ahead and walk that over here, use it to finish creeping this out, or rather just creep the whole thing out, and then put it down and have himself an expansion. And as long as he's playing a very strong harass game, he's keeping through on his side of the map, this will go up without much contestation, and that can actually be the kind of turning point he needs, because he just had a great fight, even though the early game did not go well for him. Picking up Claws of Attack +6 on the Demon Hunter, he's level 3. Naga being able to go ahead and start doing some additional stuff over there. We do have a Goblin Zeppelin being picked up right now for Thu, and in fact, that's going to pick up his whole army as well as his Archmage and his Water Elemental. That's going to be used for multiple options. There's multiple options at this point that he can actually go with. He can go for the harass over here. Just got to scan off so he knows that's there. If he plays for a clever pathing, he'll be able to easily go for it. You can see that he was assuming this is probably where it was going to be. He was on his way over there. But even though it wasn't, since he revealed, he had a perfect timing that allowed him to kind of take this path instead of this one, which if he is up here creeping this, he's almost certainly going to come down with this path. So you can kind of see how that was a well executed Goblin Zeppelin route that he took. You might not realize that, but that kind of thing is absolutely vital, because if he had gotten caught right here, then this harass would have done way less damage, if any at all. And he's already canceled the shop as well, or the gold mine, as well as taking down some wisps. Now we're going to go ahead and see Ricard, or EleGaNt, however you want to call it. It's picking up an Ancient of Wind right here. The Ancient of Wind is pretty necessary, in my opinion, against the Zeppelin harass, because that'll allow you to get a Hippogriff out. And with the Hippogriff, you can actually go ahead and just chase this thing down, and it actually pretty much shuts this down completely. The Archmage is going to be dropped out. He's going to go try to do some separate solo harass with the Archmage, using these footmen on their own over here. And the footmen could be pretty effective against these Dryads, because if they go into defend mode and it's just Dryads, then they will win the fight. They may not get any kills, but they will force the Dryads away, and he's got enough footmen here that he can go for both the Dryads as well as that. But now we're going to see the rest of the Elf army coming in here. That might be too much. He's going to have to start picking these units up. Wants to keep the Zeppelin out of range of that army. Doesn't want to take too much damage. You can see he's trying to stay over the tree so they don't have vision when he picks up, by pulling those footmen up against the line of sight vision blockers, which is wonderful for him. Good play. We do see the Archmage kind of running down at this point. He does have a lot of plus mana right now. As you can see, plus 12 intelligence. Going to pass Boots of Speed over to the Mountain King, and we still see the Staff of Teleportation, which we've been seeing a lot of players play with recently, and all of them using it pretty effectively. It's a fantastic item if you can pick it up. The Demon Hunter is at level 3 still. He's got the Orb of Venom as well as a staff. He's also been using well all game, and he has got the Boots of Speed, so he's just trying to do some harass right now. We see these sorcerers coming out as well as Magic Sentry. It's unlikely that he's going to take this Arcane Sanctum down, but if he can, that'd be wonderful for him. And the Naga Sea Witch, really, I have to wonder how effective is that going to be. I don't know, because in the late game we tend to see it's the Panda, and the Panda is pretty good. But also, meanwhile, we're actually going to be seeing Thu go for an expansion. Again, 2 expansions, and pushing the economy advantage that he has right now. Going Mortar Teams, obviously getting the upgrades. The upgrades for attacks are wonderful. As you can see, it does Militia Footmen, Spellbreakers, Dragonhawk Riders, Griffin Hiders, and Knights. You can see another Mortar Team coming out. That's a lot of different upgrades, and it's an interesting unit composition. It's probably for the Spellbreakers, probably for the Knights, and he might decide to go as well. And always good to have it on Militia, but the Mortar Teams also already have 1 attack upgrade as well for the Black Gunpowder Research. And here we see these 2 towers and this Arcane Tower, so I was going to say 2 Guard Towers and Arcane Tower. Trying to focus down that Demon Hunter, prevent him from killing the Mortar Team. Not going to happen. Here we can see human player Thu says, well, you can go for that workshop all you want all day long, but I do have 1 level of Masonry. We're going to see 1 Sorceress going down, potentially a second. No, the Demon Hunter is not going to chase into tower range again. Over here we can see a little bit of fighting going on. 1 bear going down. We have a couple Dryads trying to do something here, but they're going to be forced into the retreating position, and Thu is going to move up this way towards the Elf player's base. This is just an expansion, even if Ricard was able to take this down, which actually we're going to see a wonderful farm going ahead and blocking it just to keep that Mortar Team alive, as well as the Sorceress. Demon Hunter's going to be forced to run out. He does take down the workshop, but he's in a bad spot for pretty much every other thing right there. And he is going to be forced to run back right now because we see 1 bear going down. That's 2 bears total, I believe, that Thu's been able to pick off. We're going to see a Mortar Team. It's going to go down just as the TP hits. I mean, that was cutting it close. The Elf player, he has not even crept this gold mine out, so this gold mine absolutely is not going to be an option for at least a little while, because creeping this out does take time, and against someone like Thu, well, actually, he has a window of opportunity right now because Thu is creeping, but otherwise we would see some kind of crazy harass come out. Down here, this has not been solidified into an expansion, but it is 2 Arcane Towers and a Guard Tower with 2 levels of Masonry upgrades, which means at some point, should he decide to go for the expansion, it's going to be much easier. In fact, much easier to get that up. And you will have that already well defended, pretty much just dropping a couple Ivory Towers in there, and that'll be a hard position to assault. And again, also notice every single time, what's so important in my opinion is these little choke points that he creates. Every time you'll see this. Humans do this repeatedly against Elf. This is the most important thing they can do in the late game with those towers. The towers don't matter. The towers, they do some damage, it's nice, but they don't matter. The only thing that matters is that they're very effective at blocking things. It can make these little choke points that otherwise this is a big open area, but now, oh, it's got a choke point here. Oh, this is also a choke. This is a wide choke point, but it's still a choke point because he can run around like that. And here come those ivory towers that I was just talking about. He's going to be able to make another kind of wall. This, I believe that's not enough for units to go through, even little swords. I think that blocks it fully. But it gives him a little bitty hole, a little cubby that he can hide in. And again, it just makes more of a choke point. It just makes this tighter. Plus, if he goes ahead and puts down a town hall right here, then this is a ridiculous amount of defense and choke points that he can have and hide behind and run units around. And then it's going to be incredibly difficult for EleGaNt to do anything about. We're going to see a bolt and a mana burn trade right there. There is a tome of agility going to be walked right by. You just those things don't even end up on the radar most of the time. If you don't get them when they're crept, then oh well. Priest also going to be coming out with the Sorceress Adept training as well as the Priest Adept training, as well as another Spellbreaker on the way. Going to see these little guys going for the creeps, but not really going to see too much happening right now. As you can see here, EleGaNt trying to fight his Demon Hunter in a bad way, because he's slowed down, not really seeing any kind of abolish magic on him to keep him alive, or keep him unslowed, I guess you could say. And he's going to kind of retreat this. This isn't a fight that really either player wanted to commit to. But Thu was able to take the creeps anyway, so uncontestedly, pretty much. That's fantastic. We will see the Fairy Dragon coming out right now. Upgrades are currently at 1-1 for the Elf player, and at 1-1 on pretty much all these fighting units, except for the mortar teams, which are 1-0. Here we go, see a fight actually beginning. The Fairy Dragon going to be able to do a lot of damage. Also that Nagasi, which kind of filling the same role of the Panda with the Forked Lightning, getting a big AoE off, and then being able to kind of force these units down. One of the big problems that you do often see that the Night Elf players have is picking units off in these fights because the human player constantly repositions. That's not going to be an issue with Footmen because there's Dryad slow as well as Naga slow, but once we get into just these breakers at the front line, that Cold Arrow is not going to be helpful whatsoever. The Dryad slow poison, not particularly helpful. I mean, it's good, but as you can see, I'm not even sure it actually slows these Spellbreakers down. It might. It looks like it could. I don't actually know. I think it does actually, but they're still so fast that it almost doesn't matter. I mean, well, I guess you could say that's a fast unit. I don't know. I really don't know. They're just hard to kill. Breakers are hard to kill. Anyway, we're going to be seeing something happen there. Bunch of invisibilities on the Archmage as well as the Mountain King. That Demon Hunter going to be taking a lot of damage down to 100 life. He's going to be forced to TP out at that. And, I mean, this is a terrible fight for him to be taking. Obviously, he can't get around because there's a wall of trees right there. If you'd like to go this way to get around to hit those mortar teams, not going to happen. You'd have to walk all the way back. That's a long way to go. And you can't come down because there's towers there blocking him from coming over here towards that. You cannot get around that army. If you can't surround the elf army, or I'm sorry, if you can't surround the human army as the elf, then you are just going to get picked apart. There's not really much else to say about it. You're just going to get picked apart. Flare now being researched in the workshop. Flare is an absolute wonderful ability for these mortar teams. One flare can see so much. It's ridiculous. It's not even, it doesn't cost anything once you have the research. It's on a cooldown, so you can do it multiple times. It's a kind of a long cooldown. I want to say it's, I'm not even gonna say. I think it's like 2 minutes, but I don't know. It's a decently long cooldown. But you have several mortar teams, and you can just kind of use it a bunch. It's just a really great ability, especially when map control is so important. Knowing where your opponent is and so important, especially if you know that you have to fight in proper positions. Because if you're not in the right position, then you won't win the fight most likely. If you get surrounded, you're in a lot of trouble. If they come at you when you're in the open field, you can be in a lot of trouble. It depends on who micros it better and who has the better army composition, because obviously these are fluid army compositions. This is a very, very, very bear heavy army composition that we're seeing out of EleGaNt, and it kind of works. It kind of works because he has this Nagasi, which kind of works. I mean, he can slow units with it, but obviously, like we talked about, the Spellbreakers, Nagasi, which obviously can't slow those guys. So we do need some Dryads just for taking units down. But the Bears are very tanky, and they have 2-1 attack upgrades at this point. We're going to see the Spellbreaker still at 1-1. Seeing the Goblin Shredder come in for Mr. Thu, as well as a couple Flying Machines, just to go ahead and try to start killing those Fairy Dragons. And in fact, that's actually what the Ancient of Wind was ultimately for, Fairy Dragons. But you can also use it for Hippogriffs to pick off Zeppelins if that's an issue. And this fight, we're going to see a nice little thunderclap slowing down all of these bears. I mean, this bear front line has done very little. And again, it's not a great position for EleGaNt to be fighting in. It's kind of questionable. He's doing some damage. He's microing his little heart out, absolutely. You can see some of these units so low on HP, just keeping them alive. Seeing some hippogriffs actually come out to try to deal with these flying machines as well. Doing some really good micro again, but this is just, it's a position that Thu is retreating from, that he's not really losing the fight. He's really not. It doesn't look great for him. But the thing is look at all of these bears. They're being worn down about evenly. So that means at some point here fairly soon, all of these units are just going to be pretty much out of life. They're going to be out of steam. And because they're losing a lot of mana, because they're fighting breakers, they can't just back out and rejuvenate, which is the biggest issue that they're going to have with this. And look, the human army is still in a relatively okay position. He's got all these priests. He's still healing up. He's healing the entire time, not having any mana issues because he has Brilliant Sword. His sustain is much better. So the longer the fight goes, it tends to be more favored to the human player. We're going to see that bolt on the Demon Hunter. He's very low now. He's going to get staffed out at 233 life. He did have slow, but that's going to be worn off now. It was just about to wear off, actually, but he needed to get out of there because he's afraid of another bolt coming out from the Mountain King that's level 3, but he's very low on mana, so maybe he didn't need the staff. But that will at least allow him to regroup pretty much quicker, and, you know, if he decides, if Thu had chased right there, then, you know, there's some advantages, but maybe he didn't need the staff there. It doesn't really, though. It doesn't make any difference because he was at the end of the fight. So it's a very safe thing to do to staff, because if he didn't want to fight until the staff cooldown's back up, he doesn't have to. This is a gold mine that's gone up right now for EleGaNt. He's getting it kind of later, about 1,000 gold later than his opponent right now. So that's 1,000, 1,500. No, about 1,000. 1,000 gold late. That's actually not too bad at all, especially because he's not really winning these fights. He's just not losing them either. And that's because he's got really good micro. I mean, just fantastic micro. And I will say something again. Sweet's pointing out really nicely in the chat is that if you don't have a bunch of giants, bring some wisps, because wisps are pretty good. And I will agree with that. Feedback is actually, it's pretty smart if you burn the mana on your own bears, if you know you're not going to get any kind of use out of them, because then at least they don't take the feedback burn damage, and they're not going to be slowed while you're detonating. And also, if you can get some really nicely landed with detonates, you can drain them in on those casters, which only gives you a small window because of the fact that Brilliant Sword is there, but it does give you a small window anyway, and can force the human out of a bad spot. Of course, it's a really expensive thing because you're trading 70 gold units, and you have to do quite a few detonates to really make an effect there. But either way, here we go ahead. I guess you could have just a few key detonates as well. But who knows? Anyway, so this is another fight going on. We're going to see once again that Mountain King right in just the thick of it, going ahead and hacking down another Thunderclap. We're going to see these bears getting focused. Probably going to go down. One bear down, 2 bears down. I think a third bear on the way down. It's going to get Thunderclapped. He's also about to die. We're going to see another bit of Siphon mana coming out from that Demon Hunter. He's losing all of his mana, so he's not going to have a whole lot of mana burns further on. And further, that's going to be mana that's fed right over to the Mountain King. As you can see, he's popping a potion of mana. Going to go ahead and right-click the bolt on the Demon Hunter at level 5. He's at 172 life. He's going to kind of be forced back a little bit here, but he can't fight too far because he's got to have some kind of a way out for these bears. In fact, he doesn't have anything except that one staff preservation, and he might actually end up losing all 4 of these bears right now. One bolt on it. He's going to try to staff it. Gets that one out at 50 HP. Another bear on its way down. He's going to die, and now he's got 2 bears to kill. But here's the one good side about losing these bears. If you want to have a silver lining on your cloud, you are dragging Thu into another position that maybe he doesn't want. Here come those wisps. They're going to go for the detonate, trying to slow those guys down. Actually, he's going to be able to keep those bears alive. That's a 70 gold trade. That's much better. Also, no experience being fed, so that's actually really nice. Really good play from EleGaNt right there to not lose those bears. He only lost 1 bear. He could have easily lost 4. Spellbreaker coming up. He's just kind of being suicided. I don't think that was intentional. Probably just that Thu has so many units right now that one just ended up getting mismicroed, that happens. This is a really difficult position to be in when there's 2 mortar teams right here just raining down on this gold mine. It seems a little abusive. Seems a little abusive because there's not really a lot you can do about that except come all the way over here and then the human can reposition. So it's you know, it's rough, but nonetheless, here we see another fight going on. We're gonna go ahead and see the anti-magic steel potion being used on the Demon Hunter. He's at level 5, getting kind of close to level 6. If you can pick up the level 6, they don't have the nice metamorphosis superhuman ability, superhero ability, Superman ability, Superman. That may or may not actually be able to turn the game around for him, but he also need to keep in mind that the Archmage also equally at a high level at halfway through level 5. Blood Mage about to level level 2, and we're going to see that Mountain King still at level 3, very close to level 4 as well. These bears are not having a good day whatsoever right now. They are taking a lot of damage. You can see these Spellbreakers also being microed out. Just wonderful play from both players. Micro on both sides. Just see that priest just get out of there. The Spellbreakers are so low. There's another Spellbreaker right there. Will it go? It's going to get microed. That Demon Hunter is going to take one guy down, but he's still having to fight all these difficult fights. And here we go. The elf has lost pretty much his entire army right now. It only has a couple units left. One bear going down again. That Demon Hunter finally picking up level 6, but he's out of mana at 0 mana and pretty much no army left. Gonna see that Stare getting staffed. Again, very low. Here comes a Chimera. Chimera could be interesting. Chimera is always wonderful against low HP units, but this is an expansion that EleGaNt fought hard to keep, and he's going to lose ultimately. This one, however, is at least running right now because this gold mine is out, so at least he's got a little bit of income, but he's sitting at 54 food. Not really where you want to be at with the amount of what's it called he has here, the amount of wood saved up. Does he have enough wood just to detonate? I don't think he does. Oh yeah, he does. He's got 2, 4. He could easily detonate, and he would be down to 50 food, which might be worth it. I don't know how long he's intending to stay at 50 food, but it's going to be an interesting thing. I will say the thing about this is that even though Chimeras are wonderful at picking down clumps of the sorceresses and priests, we do already see Inner Fire out. We do already see Riflemen's out. We have Knights. There's a transition coming out for Thu right now, and this is the kind of transition that just rolls over a lesser army. So if you don't have similar food counts, you're going to have a really difficult time dealing with it. And even if you do have similar food counts, you're going to have a really difficult time dealing with it. We can see 91 food for Thu. 54 food for EleGaNt. Even though he has that level 6 on his Demon Hunter and he's got a Chimera, the Chimera is not that wonderful if it's being focused down. There are also flying machines. They get Inner Fire, which means they're going to be kind of difficult to deal with. You can't really kill them, and they can just kind of sit there and deal with that Chimera all day long, even though there's only a few of them. That's because there's nothing really that the elf player is going to have to deal with the air units at all. There's 4 of them. I mean, it's going to take him a significant amount of time to take down 4 of those with just a Demon Hunter and a Dryad. So if he does that, he's going to lose the fight really badly from this focus. Here he comes. He's going to pop the Metamorphosis. He's going to try to fight this, but he's got basically 3 units versus an entire army. He's going to kind of force him back a little bit by bringing in the Chimera in the back, but oh, here comes a Banished Bolt, a Thunderclap. That Metamorphosis Demon Hunter is taking mad amounts of damage. He's going to be staffed out by the Naga. However, there's nothing to save the Naga at that point, and good game is called. Wonderful play by both players, but Thu just showing don't beat him in game 1 because he'll come back in game number 2. Madder than ever, angrier than hell. Just did some damage, did some good work in that game. Again, I don't know quite what EleGaNt was thinking with the early gameplay. It was so aggressive. So very aggressive on a map that you can easily creep to level 3 and go for an early expansion should you want to. I don't know why he did that. I'm not going to say that it was the wrong move, but I do kind of think it was a daring move. I think he did it because he won game number 1, and he was like, well, if I can get a quick victory on Thu in game number 2, then I won't have to take it to the late game, where he's probably thinking Thu maybe has the advantage, is my guess, because Thu obviously has been doing dirty work for the past few years. That was game number 2, so naturally that means there's a game number 3 for the Dog Cup broadcast, so we'll go ahead and get into that here in just a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and take a short break. We'll be right back. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in a couple minutes. Goodbye.